I copied Nadal's pre-serve ritual every single day for 60 days. And what I found out changed how I think about the mental side of tennis completely. Here's what most people get wrong about Nadal's ritual. They think it's a quirk, a nervous habit, something his brain just does automatically because he's been doing it so long. But it's not. There's a very specific reason why every single movement happens in the exact same order every single time. And once I understood that reason, the whole thing stopped looking weird and started looking like one of the smartest things any tennis player has ever done. I'm going to walk you through everything. What the ritual actually does, what happened when I copied it, and what you should steal from it. Let's go. A routine is a reset button. Let's start by clearing something up. Because a lot of people watch Nadal go through his whole pre-serve sequence, fixing his hair, pulling at his shorts, touching his nose, bouncing the ball a specific number of times, and they laugh a little. They think it's a quirk, something his brain got attached to early in his career and never let go of. Like he's just a very talented athlete with a few strange habits. That's not what's happening. Every single one of those movements exists because it puts his brain in the same state before every serve. The same state. Not a good state, not a calm state specifically, the same state. And that word, same, is the whole point. Think about what actually happens on a tennis court during a match. You're up in a set and you miss an easy volley, or you double fault at 30-40, or your opponent hits a lucky winner off the frame and steals a break. Your brain immediately starts processing that. It replays it, it judges it, it worries about whether it'll happen again. And unless you have something to interrupt that process, those feelings walk right into the next point with you. Into your stance, into your toss, into your swing. What Nadal's ritual does is interrupt that process forcefully. By giving his brain a very specific, very familiar sequence of actions to follow, it essentially pulls his attention away from whatever just happened and directs it towards something neutral and automatic. By the time he's finished the routine and is ready to toss the ball, his brain is not thinking about the double fault 2 points ago. It's been busy doing the ritual. The slate is clean, or clean enough to serve without carrying the last point into this one. That's not superstition. That's applied psychology dressed up as a tennis habit. And it works the same way for everyone, not just Nadal. The brain does not multitask. Give it something to do, and it stops doing the other thing. A routine slows everything down. Here's something I noticed within the first week of copying the ritual. And I wasn't expecting this one at all. When you're under pressure on the serve, tight score, big point, everyone watching, the instinct is to rush. You want to. Get it over with. You toss the ball faster, you swing quicker, and the whole motion tightens up. That rushing is almost always what causes the double fault. Not technical failure, not a bad toss. The rush. Everything speeds up slightly when the brain is stressed, and that slight speed change throws off timing that's normally automatic. Bouncing the ball the same number of times before every serve forces you to slow down, not because bouncing a ball is physically calming. Because it takes the same amount of time every single time. You cannot rush through 8 bounces and have them take 3 seconds. They take as long as they take. And while you're doing them, your breathing slows to match the rhythm. Your shoulders drop slightly. Your grip loosens just enough. None of this is conscious. It's what the body does when it stops rushing. I started bouncing the ball 6 times before every first serve and 4 times before every second serve, just to have something consistent. And within 10 days, I noticed my double fault rate dropping on important points. Not because my technique improved. Because I stopped rushing. The ritual bought me just enough time to breathe properly, and breathing properly is most of what you need to execute under pressure. The players who double fault the most on big points are not the ones with the worst technique. They're the ones who rush. And rushing is almost always something you can fix without touching your technique at all. You just need something that forces you to slow down before you start. That's the whole job of the physical routine. And if you want to take your tennis to the next level, check out the Tennis Master Pack. A pack that includes the Elite Player Guide with technical and tactical tips, the Become a Pro Guide where you'll learn how to become a pro tennis player, a full-week fitness routine to take your fitness to the next level, and a prevention routine to prevent injuries and enhance recovery. This pack already helped hundreds of tennis players. Get your clicking on the link in the description. Let's continue with the video. The invisible wall between points. This was the one that surprised me the most. Because when I started this experiment, I was thinking about my serve. I was expecting to see improvement on my serve, and I did, eventually. But the first thing that changed, and it changed clearly and fast, was that bad points stopped bleeding into the next one. Before the ritual, I had a very familiar, Pattern in my matches: miss a first serve, clip the net on the second, double fault. And then the next point, I'd be a little more tense on the toss, a little more careful on the swing, a little more in my head, and the problem would compound. One bad point becomes two. Two becomes a game becomes a set. And suddenly you're asking yourself what happened to your serve, when actually what happened was you let one bad moment turn into 5. The ritual cuts that chain, and it cuts it in a very specific place, right between the end of the last point and the start of the next one. The moment the point ends, the routine begins. And from the moment the routine begins, your brain has a job, a simple, familiar, automatic job. And while it's doing that job, it is physically not able to replay the double fault. It's not able to worry about the next one. It's just going through the steps it knows. By week 3, I started noticing that I was arriving at the serve almost confused about what had happened on the previous point. Not because I'd forgotten, because I genuinely hadn't had time to sit in it. The routine had used up all the space between points that used to be occupied by replaying mistakes. And clean slates, it turns out, produce much better tennis than cluttered ones. Routines create consistency. This one takes the longest to show up. It was around week 4 or 5 when I started feeling it clearly. And it's the hardest to explain, but I'll try. When you do the exact same thing before every serve for long enough, the serve starts to feel like it belongs to the ritual. Like the ritual is the beginning of the serve motion, not something separate that happens before it. Your brain starts to hear the ritual as a trigger, a starting gun. And by the time the ritual ends and the toss begins, your body is already in serve mode without you having to tell it to be. This is what coaches mean when they talk about muscle memory on a deeper level. It's not just that the arm remembers the swing, it's that the brain has connected a specific sequence of events, ritual, toss, swing, into one continuous automatic action. You stop thinking about the serve and start just doing it, because the ritual put your brain in the right state before the thinking could interfere. The opposite of this is what most players do, which is walk up to the line a different way every time. Sometimes they bounce the ball twice, sometimes 5 times, sometimes they skip it entirely. Sometimes they pull at their shirt, sometimes they don't. The serve is just something that starts whenever they feel ready. And because there's no consistent trigger, the brain never learns to shift into serve mode automatically. It has to think its way through the shot every single time. And thinking during a physical skill that needs to be automatic is what kills execution under pressure. Same input, same output. That's what the ritual does over time. You make the preparation identical every time and the execution follows. It's that simple, and it takes that long to feel. The biggest lesson. Here's the most important thing I took from 60 days of this experiment. The specific actions in the ritual do not matter at all. Nadal bounces the ball a certain number of times and touches certain things in a certain order because those are the things that became automatic for him. If he'd started with a different sequence, it would work just as well. The content is irrelevant. The consistency is everything. What you need is something that takes roughly the same amount of time before every serve. Something that involves a physical action, not just thinking, because physical actions are what interrupt mental spirals most effectively, and something you can actually remember and repeat in a match without it feeling forced. It could be 3 ball bounces and 1 deep breath. It could be adjusting your strings, bouncing twice and rolling your shoulder. It could be as simple as looking at your strings, looking at the target, and taking 1 slow exhale. It doesn't matter. Pick something, write it down so you remember it. Use it in practice first, every single serve, until it becomes automatic. Then take it into a match. The first few matches, it'll still feel like something you're doing consciously. Around the 5th or 6th match, it starts to fade into the background. Around the 10th, it starts to feel like it's just part of how you serve. And at some point after that, you'll notice that you're arriving at important points calmer than you used to be, without knowing exactly why. That's when you know it's working. So after 60 days, here's what I can tell you honestly. The ritual didn't fix my serve technically. It didn't add pace or spin or make my toss more consistent by itself. What it did was remove the mental interference that was stopping my technique from showing up when it mattered. My serve was already good enough. I just kept getting in its way on the big points. The ritual stopped that. And that's probably true for most people reading this. Your serve is better than it shows under pressure. The gap between your practice serve and your match serve is not a technique gap. It's a mental gap. And the ritual is one of the cheapest, simplest ways to close it that I've ever come across. 30 seconds before every serve. Same thing every time. Start tomorrow. Drop a comment telling me what ritual you're going to use, even if you make one up right now. I want to see what people come up with, and subscribe for more of this. The real stuff, the stuff that actually moves the needle. Tennis is simple when you know what to work on. See you in the next one.